I shall smite you in the name of JLV.
What's up, my dude? So, this MX Sim Clips dude on Instagram, he's got like 14,000 followers, something like that. Just wanted to come in here and give him a little shout out because he kind of gave me a little shout out. I didn't ask for it or anything, but he came in here and made this little meme. God, dude, this is fucking hilarious right here. But anyways, just wanted to kind of give back a little bit, you know what I'm saying? He ended up gaining me a few followers on Insta from this, so I thought, you know, why not go ahead and shout him out in a video. Go follow MX Sim Clips on Instagram. You know, help him out a little bit. It's just funny to see stuff like this. This is a good one right here, dog. This is a good one. Okay, so track review of the new RF Oakland 2020 Supercross track. All right. So finally, I can actually ride on a 2020 track without just completely boring myself to death after riding the first 5 laps on the track. Finally, like there's a track now that has at least a little bit of skill gap, a little bit of substance, a little bit of something to it, you know, a little bit of deepness to it. I felt like basically every other round this year thus far has just not had any substance at all. You don't have to think at all on the track. You know, you don't have to like worry about a certain section or think in the corner before a section on how you're going to hit a section. It just felt like you were blindly hitting everything wide open, not having to think about anything. And finally, there's something there, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying this track is just downright amazing. Oh my God, RF has fixed everything. You know, oh my God, it's just perfect. But compared to what they've been doing in the first 4 or 5 rounds, this is actually like, I was able to hop on this track and ride more than 5 laps on it without just wanting to completely quit playing the entire game. You understand what I'm saying? And that's really what was... I didn't hardly ride more than probably a total of 10 laps on each one of those other RF tracks, like total. You know what I'm saying? I literally would get on those tracks and ride probably 10, 15 laps, and that was it. So this is... They're making steps, but they're baby steps, right? Oh my God, RF, you finally put an actual whoop section in on a Supercross track. Holy shit. Doesn't it feel nice to actually have a real-ass skill-gapped whoop section on a Supercross track? I mean, call me crazy, but, you know, I really would rather have a whoop section than roller sections on my Supercross tracks. Like, that's just me, though. That's just me, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'd much rather have actual berms and corners versus flat corners on my Supercross track. But, you know, that's just me, man. That's just me. Oh, man. So, finally, the whoops at least have a little bit of skill gap to them. So, let me go over these whoops real quick here because I know some people are going to get kind of weird opinioned on this. Okay. These whoops require you to actually think. Okay, when you're coming around the corner, you have to think, okay, I can't just hit this wide open. Like, I've got to actually think about how I'm getting up on top of the whoops. I've got to think about my throttle control. I got to think about once I'm up on top of the whoops, how am I going to carry through the speed through the whoops versus basically every other round in this year and like 19 and most of the 18s as well. You just come around the corner and hit them wide open. They had them so rolled off, so smoothed off that they didn't have that peak to them to where it really would like bounce you off in a weird direction, or like if your front end dropped down between 2 of them, you would flip over. That would never happen on basically any of the whoops they've been making for the past couple years in this game. It used to happen on a lot of the 17 tracks and some of the 14 tracks and stuff, right? So, for the love of God, guys, don't start getting upset about these whoops and thinking, oh my God, they're terrible, they're way too big. What it is, if you're getting that idea in your head that these whoops are too big, you've been used to what you call rollers, okay? They've been giving you rollers for the past 2 years in Supercross. These are actual whoops, okay? You ever hit a whoop section in real life, dog? Like a real Supercross whoop section, real arena cross whoop section? You ain't just gonna go through them motherfuckers like they're nothing. like you've been doing in the past 2 years of RF Supercross in this game. It's basically been the official Monster Energy Supercross game when it comes to the whoops of the past 2 years in RF Supercross in the first 5 rounds of the RF Supercross racing this year. You just come around the corner, not think about it at all, and wide open through the whoops first lap. You know what I'm saying? But these, there's at least a skill to it. There's at least a little nugget of, you got to think about how you're hitting them. But what I will say about these whoops, the reason why they kind of feel a little bit weird, right? I understand if you're thinking that. If you're thinking they're too big, you're just straight up wrong, because you're used to these rollers that they've been making, and so these feel a lot bigger to you. But if you like go back and ride on Oakland 2017, you won't think these whoops are too big. You know what I'm saying? But the reason why these whoops feel a little bit like quote unquote weird is because they're so close together. I don't know if that's because of this tight, cramped down scaling vibe they got going on with a lot of their rhythm lanes and a lot of their sections, but they're just a little bit too close together, and it gives you a little bit of a bizarre vibe, especially if you start really slowing down, start going really slow on these. If they would have spaced these out apart just a little bit more, they would have been super skill gapped like they are, but not been so like weird and inconsistent. You know, these whoops right here can feel a little bit inconsistent in the sense of sometimes you go through them and you just think it's all perfect, you know, hunky-dory, you're going to go right through them, and then all of a sudden you get to the very end of the whoops and you literally do a triple 360 no-scope backflip for no reason at all. You know, that's going to happen a couple times, and it's just because they're just a little bit too close together. Just a little bit too close together. The peakness of them, the height of them, the size of them, all that kind of stuff is pretty solid. They just needed a little bit of distance between them. I mean, like when you consider all whoops in this game, these are very, very close together for this style of whoops. You know what I mean? I mean, look at how close. Jesus Christ, RF. You know, I enjoy that they have skill gap, but I'm just saying I can see where a lot of people would get upset with these whoops just because they feel kind of janky, but I feel like it's not the size of them that's causing that. It's how close together they are. You know what I mean? When you start getting them at a certain size, you've got to have them a certain distance apart, or it's going to kind of give you that weird, bizarre feeling on them. So either way, it's an improvement for sure from what they've been doing, but I still think they can improve on their scaling side of the whoops. You know what I'm saying? The size of them's right. It's just the scaling of it needs to be expanded a little bit. And as far as all your main triples this year, basically every single main Supercross triple you guys have put on any of these RF 2020 tracks have felt the target landing area is way too narrow for what it should be on a main triple like that. It feels like, you know, 9 times out of 10 you're over jumping the triple or you're under jumping the triple just because the landing is not quite big enough. You know what I'm saying? Like that landing should have been expanded a little bit further and it be a little bit bigger. Like when you compare this to a lot of the other Supercross tracks in this game, these main triple landings are pretty weak, dog. They're pretty weak. They're pretty small. Very narrow, very, very small area to land on, very short, low, down to the ground, triple landing. So it makes it very difficult to really land in the right spot, which is silly because half the time you're just over jumping the main triple anyways out here to Texas, and you're still able to land it anyways. So it's just kind of silly in a sense. But either way, okay, let me get over here to a section that I really enjoyed on this track. This was one of those that really... Whoever made this section like this, yo, kudos to you, dog. You're doing something now, rhythm section-wise. Finally, there's at least one area that you feel like you can only hit on a 450, right? And you got to be pretty banging out of this corner to be able to hit it on a 450. It's this triple right here in this section before the finish line. I mean, you got to have some skill to come around this corner and be able to huck this triple right here and hit the second triple. So finally, this is the first section I've seen thus far in all of these RF 2020 tracks that actually feels like a separating jump on the track. I mean, literally. Every single other track they've done thus far has just felt like it's been made for a 250, and you cannot separate yourself anywhere as far as jump rhythms. So finally, there's one area on the track that feels like, all right, you know, if you hit this, you can probably save a little bit of time and start separating yourself from everybody else. Like, you know, finally they have that something right here, and I'm really happy they made it to the point to where they didn't force you to double this right here, you know, they made the jump face, the first jump too small, or the triple landing too big to where you couldn't hit it consistently. They've got it right on that balancing point to where you can hit it, and you can hit it consistently, but if you slip up at all in the corner, you're going to come up short and lose some time. So it's got a really cool balance to it. But what I will say about this is this section right here only works whenever you have super, super low erode to basically no erode. Once you start getting any kind of erode going, any real kind of erode going on the track, it pretty much just eliminates all of the, you know, feasibility to be able to hit this triple in right here, because the corner gets too rough, the face of that gets too kickered out, and you just can't really do it once it starts getting erode on the track. So that's an issue they're running into, where even when they do come in here and make the occasional skill gapped rhythm, it's like you can only hit it for the first 2 or 3 laps, and then the erode is too much, and then it's not even worth going for. You might as well just double, triple this, like the first, you know, 2 or 3 laps into the race. So unless they're running super, super low erode or no erode, then this section basically just becomes like not even a skill gap section again. So they kind of go back to square one once the erode starts getting on the track. So to me, this would have been one of those corners I would have made to where it didn't rut up very much at all. Like I would have done some sort of tile map on this corner to not rut up much. That way you could still hit this rhythm. So either way, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on it. I just think their 2 biggest problems is the length of the rhythm section scaling, like how long the jumps are. You understand what I'm saying? They got them at a decent like height, but it's just in certain areas, certain rhythms, it's like the whole rhythm feels too cramped down. The whole rhythm feels too small, too close together. The jumps feel too close together. But this rhythm right here feels great, like distance-wise. This one, probably perfect. I mean, that's about what I would consider like a perfect scaling right there. The finish line landing's a little on the small side from what I thought it would have been. Coming around to this wall, it would have been cool if they would have made these little like rollers in the sand just a little bit bigger, so it might give you a little bit more of a different line option to maybe jump, like double the wall versus basically being forced to just roll the wall. I mean, you can quad into the sand off this wall if you want to. You know, you can double, triple, or quad, but it's not going to be worth it because you're basically landing on flat right here. You know what I mean? So it's just better to just slam on your brakes, roll the wall, and not waste all your time in the air. So the other thing is, the worst part of this track still is they still haven't really fixed this issue, is the corners. That is still my biggest complaint of the whole caboodle. I mean, if they just had their corners more dug in, you know, just a little bit more banked up, a little bit more dug in where you could really carry your speed and you didn't feel like in every corner you had to, you know, nearly come to a complete stop and then pivot yourself and turn. I really think they would start getting something cool going here. They really start making their corners just a little bit more dug in, a little bit more of an actual berm. I still think they're off a tick on that, you know what I'm saying, or a few ticks on that. That's the big thing that's really holding back their tracks right now, in my opinion, still, is the corners. I mean, that's really what's doing it. Like, if you compare it to some of the, you know, 17, 18 track corners, these are super rolled off, super small in comparison to those. But either way, so this particular section right here, you know, they made the corner berm itself so flat and so smooth that it just became completely pointless to go to the outside. So then everybody just goes up the inside and they just create a super one-lined area. I think that would have been really cool in this corner if they would have banked up this outside berm a little bit, and at least some, and not just been totally perfectly flat. You know, I think part of the reason they did that is because to make it to where you couldn't quad over this table right here, but it's like, Jesus Christ, RF. All you really did was just forced us into one line. You just made this section more one line than it should have been. That's all you really did. You smoothed out this outside so much to where it's basically not even a corner. It's just a flat corner. Now everybody just goes up the inside. Whereas if they would have built this up a little bit and would have made it to where you could actually jump this right here all the way and did a little quad right there, it would have opened up that door to every time you come around that corner, you're like, okay, do I want to go around the outside and try to carry the speed and quad that, or do I want to go up the inside and shave off time and just do the on-off on the tabletop? You know, it would open up multiple lines in that corner, but they just smoothed out the corner so much to where the outside becomes completely pointless, and then everybody just, you know, rolls up the inside and just does the standard ass on-off line right there. That's just one of those missed opportunities right there, RF. You know, trying to restrict us from hitting any kind of quad on the track. That's just a missed multiple line opportunity is really all you did right there. So either way, this one section coming around here where you do the triple right here, and then you kind of jump triple through the corner. Watch out for that stripper pole, dog. You can actually hit a quad right here and quad all the way and then do a double into the corner, but it's not worth it because right there they made that jump that you're landing in, which is like right here that I'm on. If you quad that right there, that's where you're going to be landing. They made that one particular jump so tall that if you do quad right here, it's just you're going to lose all kinds of time and speed because you're going to smack up on this and, you know, bounce up in the air. It's not even worth hitting the quad. Not really sure why they picked that one jump to make bigger. Come on now, RF. Come on now. I think you could have just made all these jumps about the same size and then really opened up that potential quad double into the corner versus just the triple. You know, it's like they're limiting themselves on multiple lines on the track. They're building the tracks in a way to where they're just limiting the multiple line opportunities that you could have, right? Same way with this whole section coming around this corner. If they would have spaced this triple in out a little bit more, if they would have made the scaling a little bit longer on this rhythm, more like this triple in on this section right here, if they would have done that with this first section, it really would have opened up this cool balance door of, do you want to go way up the inside and just double, or do you want to go like midways through this corner and try to triple in, or go to the outside and, you know, really easily be able to triple in? But the way they have it right now, it's just like you're going to be able to triple in this little bitty, you know, close together, you know, cramp down scaling triple in on the 450 anywhere, no matter where you go through on the corner. You can go all the way up on the inside, be kissing these tough blocks on the inside, and just roll around this corner, and you're still going to be able to jump huck triple into that section. So you see what I'm saying by how they're limiting lines in a way. They're not making their scaling to a level to where it really opens up that multiple line option door, right? They're finally getting it a little bit, like in this section right here, this triple in right here. Are they improving? Yeah, but they're taking baby steps. Baby steps. Keep on this sort of whoop vibe. Expand these whoops a little bit lengthwise, right? You don't want to make them any smaller or more rolled off. You just want to put a little bit more distance between the whoops, man. That's all you got to do, and they won't feel so weird. Make your main triple landings just a little bit more lengthy. Don't make that, you know, target landing area so narrow and so short. Make it just a little bit more lengthy. Make the corners a little more dug in, just a little bit taller for this sort of tile map that you got going on. And then everything will be pretty solid. But either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.